Whether you're looking to ride on the street, off-road, or both, adventure helmets are an ideal option if you need versatility. But which of these helmets performs the best in what features you're getting and how they do out on the road in the real world? That's why we've put together our champion data guide and given our top 5 helmets to our test rider and had him measure how they do out on the road for noise, ventilation, and more. He's come back with tons of interesting data, so stay tuned as we see which helmet came out on top. Sebastian from Champion Helmets here, and welcome to our Champion Data Guide for the best adventure helmets of 2021. Adventure helmets are, first and foremost, designed for versatility. After all, what's not to like about the option to go off-road, ride on the streets, or do any mix of both, all with one helmet? But since these helmets offer so much, where does this leave them in terms of performance on the road and elsewhere? This question is why we've given the Icon Variant Pro, Schuberth E1, Shoei Hornet ADV, Arai Tour X4, and the Klim Krios Pro, as well as more helmets, to our test rider to try out on the road with our measuring instruments. This means we've measured their noise, ventilation, and more, so let's see how our contenders performed, and let's see which gets to take home the gold. Before we go further with our road tests, don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date on our newest data-driven road tests, where we test out the latest helmets in the real world, measure their performance, and bring you back the data. As we get into testing, this is just a quick refresher for how we set up our road tests. On the left, we have a white monitor showing the helmet's interior temperature based on a thermometer placed between the helmet's EPS and the interior liner. In the middle, we have our decibel meter showing the noise level in the helmet from a microphone placed near our rider's ear. Lastly, on the right, we have a telephone showing the day's average airspeed on the helmet from a bike-mounted anemometer. Finally, on the dash, we have our rider's speed and the exterior temperature for the day. We conducted our tests at 130 km per hour or 80 miles per hour on long stretches of highway, and we took averages throughout. For a final note before we head into our first category, we have updated our ranking matrices. Since we've tested out so many helmets on the road over the years and expanded our data set, we've taken a long, hard look at how we rank our helmets. As a result, we've refined our ranking process and even added new aspects to bring you a more complete ranking and a better idea for how the helmet scores. In the interest of transparency, we'll also be including our ranking matrices in our guide so that you can also do the math for yourself. First off, let's take a look at what these helmets are made of, since this has such a large effect on weight, safety, and performance. When looking at these helmets, we ranked them according to the type of material used, which you can see on the horizontal axis, and the number of shell sizes along the vertical axis, since this also has an effect on how proportional the helmet's fit will be. Starting with the Icon Variant Pro, the helmet uses a fiberglass composite outer shell with additional Dyneema reinforcement for abrasion resistance. And since it is coming in 3 outer shell sizes, the helmet earns a decent 3.5 stars. The Schuberth E1 also uses a fiberglass composite, though it is unfortunately coming in only 2 outer shell sizes, which is a bit of a letdown in this regard, since this only earns the helmet 3 stars for material. The Shoei and Arai, each with their own unique fiberglass composites, also do well, with the Shoei earning 4 stars since it's coming in 4 outer shell sizes, while the Arai earns 4.5 thanks to its 5 outer shell sizes, which is the most of this lineup. Lastly, we have the Klim Krios Pro standing out thanks to its carbon fiber construction, though it also earns 3.5 stars, since it only comes in 2 outer shell sizes. So this was a bit of a missed opportunity. To sum up, we already have a healthy bit of competition between today's helmets, but since there can only be one best adventure helmet for 2021, let's see how they do for weight. Weight is another all-important aspect of adventure helmets, since it has an impact on the level of fatiguing, which is present in both long-distance touring and off-road riding. We've ranked our helmets here based on a set of weight bands to help us determine cutoff points for how many stars each helmet can earn based on its weight. To start off with, we actually are looking at a very heavy lineup, with most of our contenders, including the Icon Variant Pro, Tour X4, and Schuberth E1, coming in above the 1600 gram mark, though this does make sense considering the extra weight which is added by that additional peak. Coming in at the middle end of the weight spectrum, we have the Shoei Hornet ADV, but it is the Klim Krios Pro that stands out most here, thanks to that carbon fiber shell and Colroyd impact-absorbing liner. We have a result of 1,300 grams on our scale, which is light by any standard in any segment, and especially so with adventure helmets. This means our earlier ties are broken, with the Klim helmet taking the lead. But we've still got plenty of ground to cover, so let's move on to that visor. Taking a look at the face shield, we also have some interesting data to collect on our helmets. To start with, we broke our rankings down by what manufacturers are offering you, including anti-fogging preparation, quality of the visor mechanism, and any additional visors they may throw in. To start with, we have a good showing already from the Shoei, Arai, and Schuberth, since they are all coming pinlock prepared with the insert in the box. This earns the Shoei and Arai 4 stars with the exception of the Schuberth, which comes with those added noise-reducing tribulators along the top of the visor and a drop-down internal sun visor, so we'll come back to this helmet in a moment. The Klim Krios Pro also does well in this category, earning 4 stars since it actually comes with a photochromic self-tinting visor already included in the box. This means that it is once more self-tinting, which will really help with cutting down on glare while riding. Nonetheless, once more we have the Schuberth E1 eking out a lead here due to its strong touring DNA with a drop-down sun visor, strong mechanism, and great field of view, which actually earns it 4.5 stars. With these visors covered now though, this is where things get interesting. While we can compare specs all day long, we get to answer how our top 5 contenders actually perform out on the road, so we'll be collecting actual data for noise isolation and ventilation here. So, without further ado, let's head out and see how they do. First up for our road test, we have noise isolation. This is often a tougher category for adventure helmets due to the added peak on top, but we still get plenty of interesting results from our test. We measured these helmets according to our matrix once more with a set of bands to determine how many stars each helmet earns. When we tested our helmets out, we had excellent testing conditions with the day's average airspeeds at about 115 to 130 kilometers per hour, which means our data is clean and testing was consistent. Overall, we got an interesting distribution of data. We have the Shoei and Arai once more matching up at an average 102 decibels, which earns them 3 stars, while the E1's excellent result of 101 decibels earns it 4 stars. Though this is not particularly surprising, considering it is a close cousin to the C3 Pro. But there was one helmet that really stood out in this category, which was the Klim Krios Pro. The helmet caught us off guard with a result of 98 decibels on our meter, which was certainly impressive considering that it is coming from a brand more well known for their clothing and gear. This earns the helmet 4.5 stars. So we now have our quietest adventure helmet figured out. But noise only tells us part of the story, so let's continue with our test and see how well these helmets' vents performed. For ventilation, we also got a very interesting result since for a category where ventilation for dual sport riding is so crucial, we have a wide range of data points. We measured our helmets according to our matrices once more using a set of bands to help us divide each helmet score based on the temperature difference. Coming back to the data, we actually have the Shoei Hornet ADV performing unexpectedly poor with a 6-degree difference to the outside. And while the AGV AX9 also did very poorly in this regard with a 5-degree difference, the Airoh Commander did even worse with a 12-degree difference to the outside, which we found very disappointing, which is why these 2 helmets were our runners-up. Needless to say though, all 3 helmets here only earned 1 star. Nonetheless, we do have a set of 3 helmets that did vent very well. These were the Klim Krios Pro, Schuberth E1, and the Icon Variant Pro, as well as the Arai Tour X4. Since each helmet came in at the same temperature to the outside with the exception of the Arai, which means they are much better in terms of more active riding. With only 2 categories left though, we're already seeing a close race between the Schuberth, Klim, and Arai helmets, but let's press on to see which will come out on top for comfort and features. We now come to the comfort category of our top adventure helmets. This is where we look at the aspects of the helmet that are not captured by hard data. In forming our rankings, we have our rider who has over 15 years of riding experience, which he puts to good use in gauging different characteristics of our helmets. This includes build quality, wind drag, bulkiness, peak performance, and more. To start off with, all our helmets are coming with removable, washable, and antibacterial liners, which makes sense since these helmets are the best on the market and they are in a premium segment. Though we have the Schuberth and Variant Pro lagging behind slightly at 3.5 stars, here's where we have the Klim Krios Pro, Arai Tour X4, and the Shoei Hornet ADV really standing out with 4 stars each. The Krios Pro's liner was soft to the touch and very plush, and the interior textiles are definitely Klim's strong suit, considering their gear experience. But the Shoei and Arai were also incredibly comfortable, thanks to their own soft fabrics Arai's foam springs for supportive fit, and Shoei's high-quality finishing. With one more category left to go, let's take a look at these helmets' features. Since adventure helmets are meant to bring a lot of versatility, this should definitely be an interesting one to watch. For our final category, we have features, and this is where we get to take a good look at what manufacturers have put into their helmets. We look for a range of indicators to tally up the scores, all of which are based on what riders have asked us over the years. This means we're looking at communication system preparation and options, glasses fits, peak options, liner customization, and more. And overall, we have a very interesting result here since the Klim Krios Pro actually drops off somewhat here to 2 stars since the features included were more sparse. But that gives other helmets a chance to shine. Instead, we have the Shoei, Arai, and Schuberth actually taking the lead with 3 stars each. Though the Schuberth does offer a great level of touring level functions, it is actually the Arai Tour X4 that is bringing some of the most fantastic features in our lineup. Not only is it very comfortable for glasses, but it comes with peel-away pads in the liner to let you get your ideal fit, and there are even special foam springs in the cheek pads to make sure that you don't lose form over time. Now, since we've got all our data collected, we can take a look at how all our helmets compare to get an idea of the bigger picture. Overall, we do see a great set of results from our helmets. Starting with the Hornet ADV and the Variant Pro, though they were let down by either their ventilation or noise level, the 2 helmets performed reasonably well across the board. Before looking at our top performers, it's also important to mention the performance of the AGV AX9. In the end, we were slightly disappointed by its performance out on the road since it was hot, noisy, and not very comfortable, even though it is very light. And from AGV. Our strongest performance out of the gate are actually the Klim Krios Pro, Schuberth E1, and the Arai Tour X4, and the scores of these helmets are already very close. This is actually good to see since not only does healthy competition bring you more options, but it also makes finding out which will come out on top even more exciting. But before we move to our final scores, let's take a look at what happens when we factor in our helmets' prices, and perhaps this is what will break that tie. Since each helmet is offering you a different set of features and performance at different prices, it's important to also factor these aspects of the helmet into our rankings. For example, you can have a helmet that performs well but is priced too highly, or one that does excellent but at a very low price. This is why we've added a new ranking to our matrix with a renewed formula where we rank our helmets based on their average star score and euro per star rating to determine what bonus they actually get according to this formula. We already see our runners up here, but which of our main lineup will get the most points? In 5th, we have the Schuberth E1 with its 3.5 stars at 27 euros per star, earning it a bonus of 1.2 stars. We next have the Shoei Hornet ADV with an average of 3.29 at 22.5 euros per star, earning it a bonus of 1.8. We then get a jump in scoring to 3rd place with the Icon Variant Pro with 3 stars at 17 euros per star with a bonus of 2.4. In 2nd, we have the Arai Tour X4 with 3.6 stars at 25.5 euros per star, earning a bonus of 3 stars. Lastly, we have the Klim Krios Pro with 3.9 stars on average at 26 euros per star, which earns it a bonus of 3.6. With all our points given out now, we can now see which helmet came out as the best adventure option for 2021. Have our rankings changed? Let's find out. We now come to the moment we've all been waiting for, where we can finally see which adventure helmet is best coming into 2021. Starting in 5th place, we have the Icon Variant Pro with a champion helmet score of 6.9 out of 10 at 17 euros per star, making it a great budget choice. In 4th, we actually have the Shoei Hornet ADV with a score of 7.1 at 22.5 euros per star, and it sadly came in lower due to that poor ventilation result. 3 more contenders to go, but which will finally come out on top? In 3rd, we have the Schuberth E1 at a score of 7.3 at 27 euros per star, while at a very close second we have the Arai Tour X4 at a score of 7.8 at 25.5 euros per star. This means that our best adventure helmet of 2021 is the Klim Krios Pro with a score of 8.2 at 26 euros per star, which not only makes it a strong performer on the road, but a decent helmet in terms of value for money. That's all for the best adventure helmets of 2021, and it was definitely a close race. Though still coming in at the middle ground, we found these helmets have performed quite well out on the road, with some even coming in with touring level noise isolation, while others bring great ventilation. So if you liked the video, then make sure to subscribe to keep up to date on more data-driven helmet road tests like these, and don't forget to check out our individual review and road tests of each of these helmets, where we dive even deeper. Also, don't forget to check out our helmet bundle deals on our website, where you can pick up an extra visor or a communication system at a discount. I'm Sebastian from Champion Helmets, and see you next time.